All right. Good evening, everybody.
Can you hear me, Max?
The sound is not that great. It was okay before. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meetup. We are a lot of people joining at the moment, so we are just going to wait a couple of minutes for people to join, and then we're gonna start. Is the sound all right, Guillaume?
Yeah, all good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fine. Couldn't everything's okay on your side?
Yep. Everything good.
Okay, for the one just joining, welcome. Welcome to the Bangkok Blockchain Meetup. We are doing it online due to the COVID situation in Bangkok, but hopefully I was saying that we hope to resume the face-to-face meetup every month on our co-working space, and that we can see each other and have longer discussions.
Yeah, that would be cool to.
Yeah, at least.
Outdoors.
Yeah. All right. Can you give me 1 second? All right. Okay, still some people joining, so I would just ask 2 minutes for everybody, just to let the people in. All right. Okay, so just wait 1 second. All right, so let's start if you don't mind. And so welcome, good evening, everybody, and really happy to have you guys on this virtual meetup. Hopefully the last one of the year, next one in face-to-face. So tonight we are going to talk about a very exciting subject, as you could have seen, decentralized finance, and especially its impacts on traditional markets. So just first, let me introduce myself for the people who just joined this meetup for the first time. My name is Max. I'm the CMO of Atato. Atato, we are a blockchain software company based here in Thailand. And since almost 2 years now, we are organizing those meetups every month where we talk about blockchain, use cases, decentralized finance, and we try to invite people from different fields to listen and to hear from them. And I think the topic of the meetup tonight is quite attractive. A lot of people are interested in decentralized finance. A lot of you are already trying farming, but this is a field that is quite still not well known. And tonight we are going to discuss about it, and especially to try to find a way and to try to have the views of our presenters about how decentralized finance is going to impact the traditional markets and what we expect to see in the years to come. So with us tonight, we have 3 speakers from different companies, all of them in Thailand. I will start with, I would ask Kun A first to introduce himself and explain his background and a small introduction.
Hi, everyone. My name is A. Well, maybe you guys know me as Coinman, since I have a page called Coinman, right? So I've been in this space for a while, and I started my blog around 2017 just to educate people, because that time people still thought this crypto stuff is a scam. In Thailand, right? So, I like from that time, right, I started many things, like one is the company called Crypto Mind. Like we do a bit of consulting and also help company actually promote themselves in Thailand as an agency. And also I started a crypto fund called Mergo Capital, which are applying for the Thai digital asset management license at the moment, right? So I myself also, been farming a bit, with a Thai community, and we've been educating people on this front. So, very happy to, like to share my thoughts here today. And thanks, Max, for, the invitation.
Welcome. Thanks a lot, Kun A, and really nice to have you tonight. And the second speaker is our good friend, Felix from Dash Next, and now a professional yield farmer. and so I will let him introduce himself.
A yield degenerate is how we say it in decentralized finance for the people who cannot get enough. So hello everyone, my name is Felix, co-founder of Dash Next. So we are running basically all the Asia operations for Dash, one of the old OGs in the crypto space. We're focusing on partnership building, on business development. And recently, and I think this is the reason why Max invited me, thank you very much for the invite, to talk a little bit about, how do different blockchains come together, what changed in the industry, and we with Dash, especially me, are really driving right now the move to DeFi and the move to interoperability. Because at the end of the day, Dash was always for easy transactions, for easy payment, and always had the claim to be your own bank. And I think DeFi is really increasing the speed we are going in this direction. And I think Dash and other, non-Ethereum blockchains can be very good players in this space, and everybody has to offer, something great. So this is why I'm here and happy to discuss with you all.
Thanks a lot, Felix, for the introduction. And yes, really eager to have your point of view on coming from the OGs, as you said, back in 2016, 2015,
14.
where there was 14, yeah, even earlier than us. But anyway, and the last speaker from an amazing company called Atato, the CEO and founder of Atato, Guillaume.
Hey guys, so yeah, my name is Guillaume, founder of Atato. So we organized this meetup since 2019. So yeah, thanks Max for bringing all the panel together. Atato, what we do is that we develop blockchain platforms for financial institutions and DeFi startups. And so today we aim to bring a perspective of what DeFi means for those institutions and those businesses that are subject to regulation. So yeah, happy to participate. Thanks for having us.
All right, great. And there is still people coming in, and so welcome everyone. We are just getting started, just a small presentation from our speakers. And so before going right into the topic, the reason we are making this meetup tonight is because something happened few weeks ago on the US stock exchange. You might have seen the news. You might have participated to the frenzy that happened on the stock called GameStop, and something arrived which was quite unexpected and which actually is bringing a lot of attention to decentralized finance, is that for sometimes the stock was altered by the brokers. In order for the stock not to rise too much, the broker altered the trades and retail investors were not able to buy the stocks. And it's something that it's actually was on the news of every newspaper because this is something that might actually change the finance game on the long run. And when you see that there are those intermediaries which are actually able to do what they want on the market, this is where decentralized finance is coming in with a very valuable proposition compared to what we have today. So that was the idea of the meetup, and that's why we would like to touch on this subject. But first, before going into too deep on this, let's go maybe a general question to the audience. You can use the chat. If you have any questions, send it over. I will relay your questions to the speakers, and the point of this meetup is really to have a discussion. And we really would like to hear from you guys. So please feel free to use the chat. I will monitor it and I will relay your questions. And I'm not sure that a lot of people can participate, but we try to gauge what is the level of knowledge about decentralized finance from the audience. So maybe just put a message on the chat or raise the hand if you are familiar with the DeFi space and if you heard about DeFi and if you have a bit of knowledge about it. So if you can just use the chat or maybe raise the hand with Zoom, we can maybe gauge what is the level of knowledge of the audience. And nobody is doing it. Yes, at least there is one. So great. All right. So there is some people.
Farming. Cool.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. So So for the first questions, let's try to go general, and I would like to ask for the three of you that you share about what is DeFi for you, decentralized finance, and how did you get introduced to it? And I will start with Kunal, if you don't mind.
All right. Well, the term DeFi actually just will become like a hit, right? Around maybe 2019, I guess, and 20, and then of course this year, right? But actually, in my opinion, right, but Bitcoin is also DeFi. It's just that people don't really tend to use that word on it, right? We're talking about decentralized money, right? But the ideas about money is limited, right? It's just money. People say, what are you gonna do with it, right? So people start to use the same similar concept, the concept that we don't need a middleman, and then we can just do things ourselves, trust the code, decentralize all the server around the world, and then we can do things without any financial institution, right? So that idea spread out, and then people start to develop I guess a platform, right? Lending platform, something that traditional finance does, maybe a fundraising platform, and all these things that we used to do it in traditional world. But one day we can just move that same function into a blockchain, into something that can just run by itself without intermediaries, right? We just basically it's exactly the same as what we did, but today's we one hit, the code is up, we can start lending without anyone overseeing it, right? And that amazing, because imagine you can duplicate financial institution function in one day, and then after that people can throw money from over the world, right? You don't need licenses, you don't need even I myself applying for license, but imagine you don't even need license to do what bank does, right? And you don't need CEO, you don't need anyone, right? You can just hit. And it's also bring a lot of innovation as well. A lot of people who have passion about decentralized everything, they come into this space and create something really innovative, right? So I think I got introduced. I actually got hooked by trying. If you talk about decentralized finance space, I think Compound and DAI would be the first thing that I tried. It's pretty amazing that you can lock up Ether, get DAI, earn interest and all that, and also you can just lend what you have on Compound and then you get the interest, right? I mean, it just those days are just not that amazing compared to you farming, but you experience something that, hey, you don't need to use the bank, like for real, you don't need to withdraw money back to bank and get the term deposit, right? You can just leave your maybe a USDT on there and earn some money. I mean, that's quite amazing for me, right? It's like a trigger point where I start to look for more new decentralized finance platform. Yeah.
All right, but it's exactly that, right? It's the first time that even before, if we could transfer Bitcoin to each other, but the first time that we don't need to use a bank to have financial services. Yeah. That's quite exciting. All right, and maybe Felix, you can give us your views and how did you get introduced to decentralized finance?
Sure, happy to do that. Thanks, Kunal. I think you summarized it honestly quite well. Let me just try to give some twist to what you said. I agree. It comes actually from the world of Bitcoin. It was always decentralized, incorruptible. You cannot censor it, and so on and so on. We even had with old OGs like Dash the concept of you can generate yields with coin. I mean, essentially, you can do that with Bitcoin if you start mining, right? But Dash has this staking approach, and I think we were the first to kind of introduce it to the whole blockchain ecosystem, where in our case, you have to stake 1,000 Dash as a masternode, and this masternode gives you part of the block rewards. But it has also more on the governance function and on the whole treasury system that is in the back. So we kind of built this whole DAO concept in 2014, and as I see it, I mean, decentralized finance, the term was obviously not there, so now it's a hype word, but it's kind of the same thing in the different shapes and forms, and definitely in a way larger market size, because we see 1 million projects popping up. Amazing stuff is happening. Also, I think it's kind of an inevitable evolution of what we are doing in blockchain, because if you think about it, we were in 2017, everybody came up with like all these crazy use cases and business cases, putting water on the blockchain, and I was like doing the most crazy stuff with blockchain that never happened. And to be honest, it was always there right in front of our eyes to do everything in the financial world without banks, without middlemen, in a way, that distributes the profits to different people. It was always there, right? So it's kind of, for me, actually mind-blowing that something that we needed to wait for something like compound and synthetics to come around, and way later to kind of make the obvious happen, which is make a synthetic asset and do exactly, I actually just copy what we have in the financial industry and make kind of new products out of it, right? We can even do much more now, and it has already turned to become much more with all the decentralized oracles and everything popping up. But this is an amazing business case, and it makes so much sense if you just think about how much money Binance is earning by swapping assets A to B, right? Now Uniswap comes and say, hey, we take these fees, we give it to the users, you just have to stake liquidity into a pool. It's an absolute no-brainer to do that, right? But yet it's for me it's so complex, and obviously Bitcoin was kind of an easy use case. You can send money from A to B. Now with Ethereum you can build everything on top, and all the other blockchains you can build everything on top. So it's really it requires knowledge about money, and it requires knowledge about money markets. I always kind of tend to say what Bitcoin did for money, DeFi does for financial education, because now really people get into how does the stock market work, how does trading work, how does all these stuff work, and why is it like that, right? And the moment you open this door, it's a complete new rabbit hole you fall in, and I think that is what sucks many people in. And the last point, I read about it for a month, which was like I don't know, like end of 2019, and then until mid 2020, until I really tried. And I gotta say, I was always like, yeah, okay, I get it, but nice and so on. But the moment you try it, it's completely different. And I can only say I have seen no one who didn't try it and understand it. I think you really have to play around to that suddenly you say, okay, that makes sense.
It's right on the point, exactly as you said, that people were saying, well, it's the financial system is too complicated. Oh, we cannot replicate what the bank are doing, because we heard for so many years that finance, lending, borrowing, it's difficult to do. So you cannot launch a startup and do what the banks have been doing. And today we see that when the first project was launched, I'm not sure it was Compound, but as Kune was saying, DAI and Compound was kind of the first to really try it. Everybody came on board, and now we are seeing new project and new type of financial instruments almost every month. So it's right on the point, Felix. Thanks a lot for sharing. And yeah, Guillaume, we tried decentralized finance together. So
lots have been said. So what I can add to what Kune and Felix have shared is maybe to try to give the perspective of someone who doesn't know what's DeFi, who hasn't used it. So if you're working with your bank, for example, and you're getting a credit card, or you're getting a loan, or you're buying a mutual fund, probably mountains of paperwork are something that you're quite familiar with. Probably you're familiar with the idea that it's after 4 p.m. you can't move your money anymore just because. Maybe you're familiar with the idea that moving your money takes 2 days just because. And so what DeFi allows to do, when you're in that world of traditional finance, what DeFi allows you to do is real time. It takes 15 seconds to invest in Compound, for example. It's 24/7. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday or if it's a public holiday. You can still move your money and use financial services. It's open. On many of those systems, there are no KYC. You can just use it. You don't need to be a resident of a given country. You don't need to have certain investment qualification and so on. And finally, and I think that's probably the most interesting aspect, is that a lot of those services are mutualized. So they belong in a way to the user, just like Felix was explaining what could be done initially with Dash on staking, and also what's done today with a lot of governance model of those DeFi services. And I think those aspects, real time, 24/7, open, mutualized, is really what differentiates DeFi from traditional financial services. So maybe some of you have read an article last month in the Financial Times about self-driving banks. This idea of bank where everything is automated, and maybe next time when you get a loan, there's not going to be any human involved in the loan process, for example. And so that's kind of what DeFi is going to. And so, yeah, really interested to see how this is going to evolve and how we're going to somehow merge the traditional world with these new tools that us nerds have been building over the past few years.
All right. Thanks a lot, Guillaume. Yeah, it's good to give the view on someone who is not really familiar with the space. And we have a question especially on that for people who heard about DeFi, really would like to understand what it is. There is a lot of materials online. There is a lot of good books. There is a DeFi 101. You can search it on Facebook in DeFi Nations, those kind of group. There is a YouTube channel that I put on the chat that I highly recommend. This is very, very good explanation on the basics of DeFi, but also on something much more complicated. And so there is the whole range. Highly recommend this YouTube channel. I put it on the chat if you want to have a look. And so I think you all touched on the idea that DeFi is not easy in some ways, right? For people, it's difficult first to grasp blockchain, but when even in the blockchain space, it's kind of difficult to actually start DeFi and to understand the whole concept of it. So I would like to understand from you guys, what do you think is the main struggle, which is still here now, and what would be the kind of killer app that would bring mass adoptions? So if you can share a bit on this, maybe Felix to start.
Sure, and I see also the question, you know, like asking for a DeFi book. It's the first thing for me. Don't start with a book. Start with a YouTube channel. Find something and ask a friend who knows already a bit to take your hand and show you. This is really how I learned it. And there's a lot of good YouTube channels. DeFi Dad, for example, is another one. But I would recommend every beginner right at this point in time, because DeFi is changing every day massively. Use the Binance Smart Chain, link to a Binance account, because this will save you a lot of fees. You know, take a couple of $100 or whatever you can afford and just try a little bit. You know, with the low pot and low money, and don't do it on Ethereum right now, because the moment you will try it, you will have $500 in gas fees in a second. So if you want to try it on BSC and check out some YouTube videos of people who do it. And you're right, you know, it's just like with every time in blockchain, we are at the point where this stuff is really for us nerds. You really have to be very brave to use MetaMask, to deal around with your keys, to have these Web3 wallet applications. I'm seeing already a lot of good apps coming out. You know, there's Celsius, there's uHodler here in Thailand. We have Yield app, or at least there's some of the guys are based here. I mean, you know, it's a lot, but then we have the middleman again, right? So I'm not seeing on the short term that we're going to solve this, because the truth is right now, either you use something simple and then somebody else earns money on you, or, you know, you do it yourself and that's not the case. So I think we have a very, very long way to go. And I mean, it's so new. I don't think we're going to take off in a mass adoption way for now. My goal is to try to make it easy for people, and to try to help people get into it, because still, as of now, I mean, it's very dramatic actually. You know, it's like most people I ask, I would say from my personal experience, 90% of people in blockchain never used MetaMask and kind of scared to use it and don't really feel like using it, right? The 99% of people still don't really know what DeFi is or can give you an explanation. So we are very, very far away from mass adoption. And even most people think like, oh, if it gives me like 15 or 100% APR, it's kind of a scam. You know, for me, actually, the whole blockchain world changed a long time ago when you realized every coin you hold that doesn't give you interest rate is kind of a relatively bad investment compared to the coins that give you something, right? So, I mean, yeah, and that's why I try it out and get in there slowly.
To Dash, right?
That goes. I mean, you can stake Dash at various platforms, right? But that's the point. You can stake it around on many decentralized services. But is it better to hold Dash if I want to hold it, or is it better to hold Dash and get like 5 to 10% interest rate on my Dash? I think the answer is quite clear, right? And and this is another struggle. I mean, I hope we can talk about that a little bit. But you know, these old concepts, same like Dash, they required you to stake 1,000 Dash. Now what you can do, and what we are doing with Dash, is we make a copy, a synthetic asset out of the original Dash, and you can earn essentially a fractionalized masternode, right? So you can gain interest rate by just holding one Dash. And then you have a liquid asset that is not locked away in a masternode, right? The original Dash is locked away in a masternode. But you get the copy, you can do with the copy what you want. You can trade it, yield farm, provide liquidity. So there's many ways that all this suddenly offers. But I'm getting ahead of myself again.
all the good things from the banking and financial system came to DeFi. And just one point on what you said about app like Celsius, or you may have heard about BlockFi. It's not really decentralized finance. You can stake your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your USDT, but you stake it with a company. It's not the concept of decentralized finance. So, but anyway, it's easy to try. It's easy to start with that, and maybe to gain some experience and go ahead with DeFi. And Kun-A, may I have your views on what do you think?
Well, I agree with Felix that, you know, like it's pretty hard for, you know, normal people to, you know, get started and, you know, experiment with, you know, MetaMask and all that, right? But still, right, if you are into crypto space, this is not about, you know, making money. I mean, making money is of course good thing. You use DeFi to, you know, like earn a lot of, you know, like APY, right? But I mean, in the beginning, right, I just want to urge everyone to, you know, at least, you know, try it, just like how you try Bitcoin, right? You try Bitcoin by, you know, like buying on exchange and withdrawing into your own wallet. But, you know, DeFi take a bit of more step, right? You actually, you know, like maybe, you know, you can hold USDT, you transfer it to, you know, like a wallet on MetaMask, or, you know, Trust Wallet is a good option as well. Pretty easy to use, right? And then afterward, you can explore, you know, a few, you know, like DeFi apps. For example, you know, like I mentioned Compound, right? That's an easy start as well. You can go for like a yield farming website as well that, you know, do everything like automatically for you. But again, right, if you think it's too hard, I mean, be careful, get some friends help, you know, people who already, you know, like know that, get them to teach you, you know, go through with you. I think once you did it once, right, you know, like with your own hand, you know, when someone guiding you, right, you start to be familiar with it, right? And you start to be confident that, okay, all right, I can start exploring for more dApps, you know, for more DeFi platform, right? But right now, right, maybe it's a bit hard to experiment on Ethereum because of the gas fee. So if you want to try something, I recommend Binance Smart Chain. If you already have Binance account, maybe try withdraw anything to MetaMask, exactly the same. But again, like get some friends to help set up MetaMask on Binance Smart Chain because it's a bit complex, right? But with that approach, I think you get to try, you know, send a coin on Binance Smart Chain, try staking it, try to maybe provide into liquidity pool like on Pancake Swap or something, try like Auto Farm, you know, like DeFi, you know, whatever is on there, right? There's so many right now, right? So I think you can experiment with a low gas fee, and by experimenting it, I think you will overcome that struggle, right? Then you start to learn about, okay, this is what decentralized finance looks like, and then you can go, you know, like tell everyone that you know about it, right? And when you think about real investment, real APY, you know, whether you're gonna move some cash you have left from your bank account to DeFi, then yeah, I mean that's your choice, right? So if you feel confident, maybe you can start doing that, right? But again, right, start from experimenting with this thing first. Yep.
That's a good advice, and maybe I would continue. Just a question for you, Kun-A. I've been on a lot of Facebook group in Thailand. There is a lot of excitement about decentralized finance. People very young, really starting to get into it. And I would like to have your views on how do you see that, I would say that the Thai community, the Thai blockchain community, or even the young people here coming to you and asking about blockchain and DeFi, how is the community here?
Well, I gotta say, right, it's been crazy, like really crazy, right? People love yield farming. for some reason. But I can give you a bit of background why Thai people love yield farming. I mean, everyone loves yield farming, but especially like these Thai people, because I've been in the space in 2017 when mining was really popular, right? And the reason mining was really popular in Thailand is because, right, people love passive income, right? When they hear passive income, right, they freak out. They were like, shit, I want passive income, right? And mining used to be like kind of passive income, right? You can calculate the cost of your equipment, right? The miners, and then the earning you have, and then that's and you can deduct, you get the margin, the profit margin from that, right? I mean, and afterward we get to bear market, right? So people have to trade in order to earn money, right? And after a while, the community, the Thai community, been really quiet, right? Because it's full of miners, right? It used to be full of miners, right? And then after that, people gone because they can't mine anymore. It's not profitable, right? But then when yield farming came, right? When DeFi came, right? This thing came back, right? People who like, hey, I have cash left. I have the way to earn money by, putting my money to work, right? This is real passive income. I can earn 100% a year by just, like putting money there, right? I mean, it's not that, like beautiful, of course, right? It's not going to stay 100%, right? But they still feel like, hey, I can use my asset to generate something, right? And I like staking, right? Because you have the risk on that asset. Now you can use stable coin. So it attracts a lot of, like people. And of course, some Thai people actually go on the, like a dark way as well. Like all those, like the pool one in some website, right? Where, you have to stake their own token. It's a bit risky, but you earn like 1,000% APY, right? But that aside, right? I mean, Thai people love kind of like a passive income where they can calculate the investment and then the profit they get from it, right? Actually, I have some data to share, right? So you guys know Mirror platform, right? The one that's on Terra, right? I mean, actually, Mirror contact my friends, Bitcoin addict community. And saying that, what did you guys do? Thai people is like, one of the top 3 Mirror
Really?
user. Yeah. And
Nice.
For the background, for people who don't know this, right? Mirror is a platform where you can create a synthetic token, which is a stock, right? And you can use that stock to farm. So basically you can buy the stock or collateralize your USD, right? And then create a stock and then use that to farm. And then the APY is around like 100 to 200%, right? So people use stock pair with the US dollar and then farm. So this is something really unique, right? Now you can use stock to farm, not just, normal digital asset, right? And then a lot of Thai people actually, like that, right? They can, I can speculate on stock and then I can farm at the same time. So like I said, right, Thai people love this thing. They calculate, this is how much stock costs. Right? They bet on stock a bit and then they also earn some extra money, right? So it become really popular in Thailand, and I find it really good to see, like it even more popular in trading right now.
Yeah.
Gotta
yeah,
say.
no, it's this is what we have seen, and on top there is a lot of famous company in the DeFi space in Thailand, like Alpha Finance,
Alpha
Protocol.
Well,
And there is a question on the chat, which maybe I will ask him on this one. DeFi is great in Thailand, but what do you think about is crypto would be accepted here by the finance system? How to cash out, to spend your profits? There is some regulations here in Thailand. Maybe Guillaume, you can talk about it.
So yeah, Mathieu, I would say don't worry. You can cash out, you can spend your profit already. I mean, exchanges in Thailand are reasonably liquid now, and unless you're already selling tens of millions of dollars, you shouldn't have a problem. And if you do, you can contact Kune. Anyway, though, so it's quite well accepted, I would say. There's a legal framework right now to have things like digital asset exchanges. So you can move money in and out of the cryptocurrency network and the DeFi space. And then you can get money on your Thai baht bank account. So personally, I would recommend ZipMax. It's a good exchange. You have insurance on your funds there. There are others. There are bigger ones, smaller ones. Pick the one that is right for the kind of liquidity that you need. But I would say the Thai regulators, are quite proactive. Since 2018, we have this regulation for royalty current digital assets. We have a number of fully licensed operators that are subject to quite strict regulations. I can tell you because we are really involved in being compliant with them. and that has a lot of similarities with the traditional regulation for stock exchange, brokers, and other financial institutions. So I would say you can go and use those services, trust them. If you're not sure, you check the SEC website, sec.or.th. There's an English version, Mathieu, don't worry. And then you can see everyone who's got a license in there. So yeah, I would say we have a good environment today to cash out and spend your profits.
Okay, thanks a lot, Guillaume. Yes, indeed, we are quite lucky to be in Thailand and to have such a clear regulation framework. And Felix, you already touched on it, but you started with Dash, and now you are talking about the DeFi, especially on Ethereum. But you touched on Binance Smart Chain. Do you think that Ethereum is still the king on the DeFi space? Is it, or what do you see it changing? I know the fees are high, but would like to have your view on kind of outsider of Ethereum, if I can say that.
If I may touch on 3 points you and Kun-A mentioned before I answer their questions. Number one, and this is very, very important, if you start DeFi, you will do a lot of mistakes, period. I think I've met no one who was super clear before and who didn't wonder at one point, like, oh my God, I put something in the pool, now I know what impermanent loss is. I read it a million times, but now I know it. So be really careful on that stuff and always try out small amounts first. Number two, you just mentioned mirror finance. And, there is like Flamingo, and there's Tron, and there's Binance Smart Chain. This goes already in the direction of your question. There's a million chains and there's a million projects. Every day, new stuff is coming out. So what I feel right now is happening that it's so local and so small community driven, and it matters in what secret Telegram channels you are in, right? So it's a whole FOMO of clustered communities, and it's kind of impossible for a person alone to keep up, right? So this is where, this is good and bad. We are kind of we are exploding, and every day it's new options. And I feel, there will be micro communities all over the place, and maybe some will grow so big that, it turns over to be a mass phenomena in blockchain first. And the third thing is, you said, yes, Celsius and YouHodler and all that are centralized apps, but in the background, there is decentralized finance, right? And to be very honest, and frankly, I always believe that, at the end of the day, also blockchain businesses are businesses as usual. They use a token, they can have crazy business models and all, but at the end of the day, there are businesses that employ people, have to pay salaries, and so on, right? And, it's nice to have this, and I'm the first crypto punk to be completely out of any centralized applications and systems, and I try to spend my Dash wherever I can in Bangkok, just because I can, and it's nice. But I don't think it's morally so bad, that there are businesses that build on that. At the end of the day, you can use a product like that. You have an insurance. You don't have the headache of managing that self. You don't have to do all the mistakes, and you don't have to keep up with all these crazy small communities to get the best APR today.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
So
I agree.
These are some important points to make here, and this is why it's not a matter of good or bad or something. No, it's just where it is. So coming to your question of Binance Smart Chain, just looking at the numbers, it's mind-blowing, and I think there's no doubt about what is right now happening. People are friggin' annoyed about Ethereum gas fees. You saw always the total value locked in DeFi protocols. I think on DeFi Pulse you can see it. If you compare that to the total value locked in Binance Smart Chain, starting late January 25, February 1st, you see that the amount kind of 11-12x in Binance Smart Chain, while Ethereum is staying stagnant, right? To be honest, for me, it's simply unusable right now. It's expensive. It's fragile. It doesn't really work. My transactions get stuck or they fail, and I pay gas fee as well, right? So, the question is Ethereum king or not? It's a great community. We all have seen amazing things coming out of there, but there's other technologies and other good stuff. I don't even want to talk about how centralized Binance Smart Chain is, and there's also many, many bad things. But you just say Terra, there's Flamingo, there's Neo, there's Tron, there's so many stuff. At the end of the day, this is what I mean. It comes down to Are people building businesses on it, and is anyone getting a tipping point? And I feel simply because Binance has this huge user base, they can pull off so much better anything they want than any other community, even something like Ethereum, right? And if Binance wants to push it, and they do it right now, you see what's happening. I think we are already, I just saw 25% of the transactions are already moved basically to Binance Smart Chain. And I just see that increasing because right now the value proposition is so strong. Yield farms are amazing, fees are amazing. You can transfer money between Binance and MetaMask in a second for nothing. So it's right now like Ethereum should be.
All right, but thanks for your view, and maybe Guillaume, you want to touch on this quickly?
Yeah. So obviously, we have to respond, Felix. It reminds me of the early days of the internet. If you remember, there were companies like AOL that had their very nice walled garden where you had everything. It was nice, it was easy, it was cheap. You had everything on AOL at that time, right? You had mailing, you had news, you had weather, you had whatever you wanted from the internet in the 90s. And it worked better. It was faster, it was cheaper, it was easier to use. It's dead. And why is it dead? I think that one of the things that makes DeFi so valuable and so different from traditional finance is that it's open and mutualized. And Binance Smart Chain, you can't run a node. You have to be one of 21, nodes running the network, right? That nobody can get in. Then Binance might start censoring things. They might not like to get competitions. There's probably not going to be a competing exchange running anything on Binance anytime soon. So at some point, people moved out of those AOL walled gardens and moved to an open network that everyone now connects to, the internet, right? So I'm not saying it's going to be Ethereum, but I'm saying that I don't think that the closed network is going to be the platform that people will use on the long term. And I completely agree with you on the problems that you state for Ethereum. It's painful paying hundreds of dollars in gas fees. It's limiting the network today to basically financial institutions. Like, it doesn't really make sense to move your money and paying $100 every time. And so there are work ongoing to address those issues. They're going to take a number of years to get completely fixed. And in my opinion, as you mentioned, it's not today that mainstream adoption is coming. A lot of people are excited today with DeFi, but the infrastructure is not really there yet in terms of legal licenses, in terms of businesses to really make it mainstream. And so while the problem is becoming very urgent right now for people like us who play with the system, I don't think it matters yet for everyday investors. And in my opinion, we still have time to address those issues. And in my opinion, the approach of a decentralized solution is better than what Binance is building. But there are certain merits, and it's running, and there's lots of value in there. So definitely they build something that people want.
Okay, may I add one point here?
Yes,
it's important for the users who try it. The thing is, right now we are seeing projects that are building on both. Right? At the end of the day, the user and the money will go there where it pays the lowest fees and has the lowest friction. So, I'm completely open and honestly quite emotionless, on the platform we use. I think we haven't seen anything yet, most likely.
Right.
Yeah, I agree on that point. And maybe there is a question on the chat. Maybe I would ask it to Kun-Hei. It's a great question because we are talking about Ethereum gas fees and that it's very difficult to use decentralized finance on Ethereum today. Queen has a question: as Ethereum transitions to 2.0, we are currently in phase 0. When can we expect the gas fees to decrease? Nobody has the reply, but
I'm not sure. But I think Ethereum gonna have like an update. What is called again? I mean, that update would help a bit on the gas fee. The problem is at the moment, right? It's capitalism, right? So if you pay more, I mean, everyone try to pay less, right? Let's say I put 60 and everyone puts 60, right? It's not going to increase, correct? I mean, everyone happy with that, but then everyone try to fight to 100, 200, 300,
right? Everyone trying to do that. So that's why, it keeps increasing. I think this is not gonna go away soon, and Ethereum 2.0 gonna take a lot of time in like to come, because you're talking about a live network, right? You're not building a new one, so everything gotta be careful, and all that, right? And well, Binance Smart Chain is an option, but like I still agree that Binance Smart Chain at the moment is, well, it's based on Binance, like honestly, right? And it actually doesn't bring the value of a trustless platform. At the moment, I can see that a lot of people go there. As an investor, I go there as well myself, but it wouldn't be a platform for me in the long run, right? At this moment, because it's not decentralized. Like I use that to earn money, but the core value of it, right, is still yield farming, right? It's not about the real usage. Like if you guys know Uniswap, right? Uniswap used to have a lot of volume before, and then Sushi stole some volume from it, right? And then afterward, Uniswap have the token, to keep out everyone. Then people come back, but then now it actually proved itself that even though it doesn't have a token to give, people still use it. And I find that that's a real value, and that's how people value Ethereum network, right? And I don't see the same thing on Binance Smart Chain yet. So at the moment, it's something that I would love you to try, because the gas is low. Maybe to earn money is a good choice, but in the long run, I still believe in Ethereum, right? So yeah.
And Guillaume, maybe you want to touch on the technicals of the phase 2 and to add something.
Yeah, so Kune is right. It's going to take a number of months, maybe years, before Ethereum 2 is complete. And so I think the question was, as Ethereum transitions to Ethereum 2 phase 0, what does this mean for gas fees? The short answer is nothing, unfortunately. And the long answer is that there's going to be subsequent phases and improvements that are going to do on the near term very tiny improvements. So I think Kune mentioned EIP 1559.
Yep, that yeah.
Going to have a slight improvement when the network experiences short bursts of demand, which I wouldn't call the current burst short. So it's not going to improve things that we see today, unfortunately. In my opinion, the solution and the area to look at is the layer 2 solution, which are going to be much better integrated with Ethereum 2, much more secure. And so if you've been trying to move some assets to Binance, for example, you know how painful it is. And so with the upcoming work to build those layer 2 on Ethereum, Optimism being probably the first one to actually go live with a version of Uniswap on it, right? To me, the solution is more there, but it's not as user-friendly today as Binance is. And yeah, we talked already quite a bit about this topic, so I don't want to take all the conversation on it, but yeah, it's a lot of ongoing work to address those issues.
All right, but thanks. And I would like to continue just a question with you, Guillaume, about digital assets. And Atato, we have involved in digital assets, and I would like to have your opinions on how do you see those new digital assets fitting with decentralized finance. Often the issue was the absence of secondary markets and liquidity. So might be DeFi be an answer for that.
Yeah, it's a very good point. So I agree with what Felix said. We have seen nothing. I mean, the DeFi value locked, right, is maybe $50 billion today. It's nothing compared to the size of the financial ecosystem. So, we are still really in experimentation phase. I think to me, what's really important for DeFi now is that we have this huge monetary quantity in traditional financial instruments that we have a lot of difficulty to bring on-chain. And so to me, what's really important in terms of development in the regulation recently is basically the opportunity to tokenize traditional securities like stocks and bonds. That's maybe 90% of the size of the financial markets today. And I think we've seen also some work, with synthetic assets that mirror, for example, the price of stocks. And I think that the DeFi ecosystem is really going to blow up when we're going to have the actual assets being traded on some of those networks. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And then to answer your question on digital asset and how DeFi address some of the issues that digital assets face, such as liquidity. yeah, I think we see it mentioned in the chat, right? Uniswap. To me, that's one of the maybe the only innovation of DeFi, really, at its core, like the concept of liquidity pool and basically having a price and being able to trade without an order book. That's really fundamentally different. And I think this has a lot of value for asset classes that are not very liquid, like, patents, other forms of IP, real estate assets. I think we're going to see those tools being used more and more to price and trade very liquid assets that form, again, a big part of the financial ecosystem today.
Okay, thanks a lot. And yeah, it's already 7:50, so I would like to touch on what I explained at the beginning. In January, we had this GameStop story issue. It's been on the news of every newspaper. The Reddit group, for everybody who don't know the story, I will recap very quickly. There is a stock in the US called GameStop, which is basically selling video games in traditional markets with brick and mortar shops. And the Reddit group, Wall Street Bet, decided to buy the stock in view of the number of shorts that were on this position in order to push the price up. I make it very quickly, but what is very important is at some point, brokers like Robinhood or Interactive Brokers started to stop retail investors to buy the stocks. And so those intermediaries were basically playing against the retail investors by stopping them to purchase the stock. And it has become a big realization for some people that those middlemen are controlling the financial markets and that they were not in control of their orders. So this is a very exciting time, but also bring good realizations about what DeFi can bring to the financial markets. And I do believe that it's going to have a very strong impact on it. And Felix, would like maybe to have your view on what happened and what do you think is going to unfold?
It's a really crazy story. It's really like kind of the next level of Occupy Wall Street and realizing that the whole stock market is complicated. I can highly recommend. Damn, I forgot the podcast. I will look it up before the end. There's one great podcast on it where also the CEO of Robinhood had a chance to tell his side of the story. I mean, I think if you look at the traditional financial markets and how an organization like Robinhood operates, you most likely have actually no idea how they do it and how complex that is and how complex the order flows are, and that I think in the last 20 years, and I was day trading the stock market in 1999 when the first internet bubble, and it was so exciting when you suddenly had an online broker, right? This time it was mind blowing, and suddenly you can like get real time price feeds and all that. That was so radical and new, right? But from there, we actually came to a world 20 years later where most of these brokers kind of don't sell you the original asset. They sell you synthetics of the assets, right? And they're kind of making these assets. It's not the original one. It's kind of a copy of the asset that is in their systems, and they can do a lot of things with it, right? They can give you leverage on it. They can make a future out of it. So it's kind of a perversion of financial markets to the point where we came to, right? And as a bank and as a financial institute, you obviously do whatever is like just legal and you just get away with, right? And I think that led to a situation where we're now in a world where it's kind of normal to be over leveraged. And I think that's the issue here, right? I mean, we had a situation with GameStop where 140%, I believe, of the stock was shorted. So people sold 140% of the stock, where actually there exists only 100%, right? So how can this even be possible in the system? And obviously it's legal, and it happens exactly because what I just explained with all the synthetics and these financial assets, right? But this game was kind of always rigged by the big guys, right? And they kind of, they didn't expect that something like Reddit can blow up so much and pull them out of the positions and liquidate themselves. And I think you have to, if you look back at all the financial crises we had since 2007 is a perfect example. It always comes back to over leveraging assets and reselling stuff that you actually shouldn't resell. And you take the original Apple stock, you make a synthetics out of it, you make another synthetics out of it, then you bundle them and make a third synthetics out of it. So it's just
what is happening in decentralized finance a bit.
And that's exactly what is happening in decentralized finance. Yes, exactly. But and it's always happening, as the moment it's possible and the moment you can create something that makes more money out of money, it's gonna happen, right? And I think now we're at the tipping point where it becomes friggin' hard to regulate it, because you just mentioned mirror again. Like, how can you stop that kind of craziness?
Exactly, and that's a really good point. And maybe Kunei, you want to give your take on the story? I don't know if you followed, and what's your view on what happened?
Yeah, I know it is pretty interesting, and well, we all know the big guy always win, right? Before, and how they actually have an advantage over the retail investors. But this proves a lot of things, right? And it means that like for retail, right, as long as the information spread fast enough, through social media, we can organize something that like unpredictable as well. So yeah, it's actually a good thing, and it's the same movement that we do in Bitcoin and decentralized finance, right? We try to make like the smaller guy bigger, closer the gap. So I think the fundamental, the concept is there, and if especially when like the big guy try to stop this retail investor, everyone trying to find alternative, right? I think that's a key turning point, because people start to realize that, hey, all right, even if I try to win, you shut it down. I mean, that's unfair, right? So like that's why we try to find an alternative. Of course, right now, right, DeFi is still far from offering like a same level of easiness, user experience to these investors. But like the idea in their head is there already. I need to find something that that the big guy can't stop us, right? I mean, there's a need there, right, in their head. So you can't turn that back. And one day when the DeFi is ready, I think it's not going to be called DeFi anymore. I think it's just going to be finance, and that's where everyone can like take part in the free market and like prosper. I guess like a fair game.
Yes, we might be looking at that in the history book and tipping points where people realize that finance was a bit rigged. Guillaume, you want to give your take on it? I know you followed it quickly.
Yeah, indeed. So I think there's 2 points I would like to add, because Kunei and Felix have already mentioned lots of things. So the first one is going back to Binance. I think we should see it as an example of what's not to do again, like what we shouldn't try to replicate. And so I think the walled garden of Binance, in my opinion, will present the same dangers that we've seen with Robinhood. And so, that's why I wouldn't jump on it too much. And the second point maybe that I can add is that in blockchain, we are used to instant settlement. You make a transaction, it's settled, you transfer coins, they are actually transferred. And it's a simple concept that actually does not exist in finance, traditional finance. When you go on Robinhood and you buy a stock, Robinhood doesn't have it, you don't have it, even if you see it on your portfolio. On NASDAQ, I think it takes 2 days.
Yeah.
And so because of that delay, the settlement time, there is a lot of complexity in how brokers manage their cash, basically. And there is this concept of a company called a clearing house that all the brokers go to and actually exchange stocks after a number of days. It's a bit complicated, but the essence is that because you don't get the stocks when you buy them, you don't also get the money when you sell them. And so one of the issues this creates for Robinhood is that if you're selling your QQQ NASDAQ index, for example, to jump on GME and buy some, Robinhood doesn't have money to buy GME at that point. And clearing houses, what they did in response to the huge demand for GME stocks is that they increased basically a collateral requirement. They ask broker to put more money if they want to continue to sell GME stock to investors. And at some point, the amount that clearing houses were asking as collateral for buying GME stock was so high that some brokers like Robinhood said, all right, we just can't do it. We're going to go bankrupt by letting people buying that stock, even though they were still profiting from those trades. So I'm not giving them an excuse, but my point is just that because the financial system today is so inefficient and with this settlement time, it introduces a lot of complexity and additional risks that I think blockchain is a very powerful way to solve. So yeah, just a couple of points I wanted to make.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for the clarification. Yes, it's a bit complicated, but for people who participated in this story on Reddit, we really felt that something happened, especially as a lot of young traders were trading the stocks. So this might be something, a big part of this community that might look at decentralized finance. And I would like to ask the audience if you have any questions for our speakers. I still have a couple of questions, but I would like to hear from you guys. Any questions you might have on DeFi, or what do you think about the space? We'll be happy to share. And kind of, it's not really a conclusion, but an opening. You know, Felix, you mentioned that today we are about like $50 billion locked in DeFi, a bit less since yesterday. But basically there is a lot of money. Last year it was almost inexistent. I remember when we were celebrating the first billion locked in DeFi, and now it's 50 billion in an instant. Where do we go from there? There is a lot of projects. There is a lot of project in Thailand. It's all about leverage, lending, synthetic assets. I just would like to have your view of what you expect in the next, I don't say the next 5 or 10 years, but in the next 2 years. How do you think the space is going to mature, and what do you expect to see in the DeFi space? So Kunai, maybe you can start.
Well, you mean in Thailand or
general space? Yeah.
General, right? Well, I think we kind of in the experimenting phase, you know, like as we can see, right? We see so many economic model, you know, like new farming, as you know, even Ponzi scheme. We see a lot of, you know, experimenting product, right? Leveraging like alpha finance, you know, like who would have thought that you can, you know, leverage farm? And a lot of crazy idea come out, right? But obviously, like we also gone through a lot of, you know, like things like hacking, you know, like economic loophole and all that, like flash loan. So I think we're not in the stabilized state yet. We are still experimenting state. So I think in this year we might be able to see, you know, a lot of, you know, like new model, you know, like a lot of new platform that trying to you know, play around with, you know, like this finance, you know, where to move the money, how do I monetize my platform, how do I make the most of, you know, like the asset that I have, you know, like especially in the synthetic area. I think it's gonna go soon, right? I think today I already seen that Terra might approve, you know, the Thai baht, you know, the synthetic Thai baht. Yeah, I saw that quote, right? So nice. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of weird things from DeFi space, and it's pretty exciting. But I think this year, after the experimenting phase, I think next year we're gonna see like a who's left, right? Just like, you know, 2017 and 18, right? We know, you know, what's left, right? You know, the real players, right? Just like Uniswap came out of, you know, like all these DeFi, right? So, you know, I think after next year, we're going to see the same thing, you know, like who's going to be like a leader in lending, in, you know, like swapping, exchange, in derivative market and all that, right? So it's pretty interesting to see. And I think the layer 2 going to be the key for adoption here as well, right? You know, whoever become faster, we're going to experiment with that as well, whether it's going to work or not. Is there going to be a hack or, you know, a loophole, you know, and all that. So, I mean, it's pretty exciting time.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Exactly. Exciting. And if Mirror start to put a digital Thai baht, it's going to have a lot of complaint from central banks. But Felix, you want to give your take on?
I truly don't know what's even happening next week in DeFi. I've learned that I don't even should do any guesses. What I'm hoping for, though, is that, you know, definitely the blockchain space will come more together, that we see more cross-chain solution, more easier things for users to, you know, to do whatever they want. And I think there's a lot happening. What I also hope is that, you know, different blockchain communities come more together in terms of, you know, the solutions, to build good solutions for their users. And this is, you know, I try to say this with Dash, this is exactly our approach we are going right now. I love to be on Ethereum with the synthetics. I love to be on BSC and on other blockchains with the synthetics. And I would love to create back loops that people can use our merchant ecosystem. You know, it's nice to yield farm. It's even nice to take your friends out to dinner, and, you know, you can have beer again since yesterday in Bangkok. So that's something to celebrate, you know. And yeah, that's my hope. I'm confident that this will increase massively. It's what I can also see right now is the big corporations going in. You might all have heard of Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, and also this is for me a big tipping point. It's not even about DeFi, but it's now the first time I thought like, wow, this is, I mean, you guys are selling to corporations, right? And we were always discussing, saying, for me, it's like super boring because you talk, and then mostly it's hard that something is happening. But now it's kind of an easy thing, right? Because now you can go in and say, hey, why don't you get some Bitcoin in your balance book? You don't actually have to do anything. You just get your CFO and you change a little bit the numbers in these books, right? It's not even, you don't even have to do much, and you don't even have to really use blockchain, right? But this is kind of a new tipping point for me where I see a lot of drive and adoption can come out.
Okay, thank you. And I think before you start, there is a question on the chat that we used to talk about. It's when can I DeFi my mortgage? Huh?
Yeah, I can see the question from Marco. I want to say I completely agree with Felix that it's cool that soon we're going to be able to celebrate all of this. And, yeah, I agree with Marco. I think what's really limiting DeFi today, and also one of the reasons why we see this cross-chain and synthetic assets pop up, in my opinion, is that we don't know how to do something weird that I'm going to say, but please bear with me. We don't know how to do fiat on DeFi right now, and I think we should. I think we should have fiat on DeFi. Just like Marco is saying, if you want to get a mortgage, you need to mint coins and repay your loan. And I can understand why governments are cautious and they want to take a very slow approach. And so I don't think it's tomorrow that we're going to see it. But in my opinion, that's what's really going to bring real liquidity and real scale to those markets. And in the meantime, I'm just curious, like Felix and Kune, to see what synthetic assets are going to allow. And if the guys at Terra build a Taibat synthetic token, I would advise them not to come to the country. Yeah, I'm curious what's going to be built on cross-chain integrations, how we're going to be able to solve this computer science problem. So that's maybe more on the nerd side of things that I'm curious how we're going to solve this. But yeah, I think to me, what's going to really bring scale to DeFi is traditional finance. Today, we are playing with a very limited pool of assets that represents just a drop in the ocean of finance markets. And so I think this is where we're going to see real scale. Is it next year? I have no idea.
All right, and thanks for your reply. And there is a question on the chat, and we talked about it a bit. I think you were mentioning about layer 2 optimism. The question is, what's existing solutions layer 2 could help sustain Ethereum as a main platform for dApps and lower or avoid current high gas fees? So you are totally right. This is about layer 2 solutions. There is one called Optimism, where apparently Uniswap is going to launch their version on layer 2, and you will be able to trade, to swap, to farm on Uniswap, and basically with layer 2 and much lower gas fees. Guillaume, you had any other ones that you would wanted to recommend?
No, I would say, I think someone mentioned Matic, maybe Mathieu mentioned Matic somewhere in the comments. So, it's one of them. The way Ethereum is being developed, roll-up type of layer 2 solutions are going to be much more secure and fast and cheap. So I think those are going to be, for you, if you want to use something, I would recommend to look up roll-up based layer 2 solutions, such as Optimism that Max mentioned, I think Kune mentioned also. And then the most exciting layer 2 type of scaling is something, a subclass of that called ZK rollup, zero knowledge rollups. And the company to follow, in my opinion, in there is called Starkware. We are still a few, maybe 1 or 2 years away from ZK rollups being computationally efficient enough to run on our laptops, but it's coming, and it's going to solve a lot of those scalability issues. So yeah, Starkware, Optimism, in my opinion, those are good projects to follow. Is it really usable yet? No, you're really gonna have a painful experience configuring your MetaMask and all of this. It's more for developers, in my opinion, at the moment. But what's interesting is we see some companies bundle a wallet in their layer 2 solution. I think there is Incognito, for example, that does this with a quite cool product. So yeah, I would say if you want to experiment with layer 2, try to find one that has a wallet, unless you're a developer, and then look up Optimism, in my opinion.
Thanks a lot. And there is a question from Ben Martin. No, it's not a noob question. Other than Binance Chain, what are the main credible non-Ethereum yield farming options? And maybe the king of yield farming, Felix, can explain which one, since you tried them all.
Yeah, I mean, there is Tron, there is Neo. The problem is there is not so many projects, right? What yield farming is about right now is kind of the hype of moving from one thing to another. And Abe mentioned it already, right? You see these APRs, and at the end of the day, it's kind of ridiculous that they even post an APR, because, you know, we don't stay there for a year. Nobody ever stayed in any yield farm for 1 year, you know? So it's kind of, we should count like an AP per minute or something. That would kind of make more sense about it. So I don't see much, and it's again, you just look at the total value locked. You know, there is just not much. So there are a few projects on Flamingo, Tron, and Neo as I see it, but you know, I think the amount of projects, the amount of money in there is only Ethereum and Binance. And also one point we didn't mention, you know, this is, I think, very, very strong. If you look at what's happening, and kind of the massive project of the last year was YFI with their yield farming aggregator, right? So I strongly believe, I'm not sure about the concrete numbers, but I truly believe that most of the money right now just shifted around all the time is by pooled, automated protocols and farms, right? So the big money is already there, and the big money is already automated, and you know, so it's be careful.
Thanks. And you know what we always try to measure the validity of a chain is the number of developers that are working on it, the number of projects that are built on it. So far Ethereum is still number one. There is Binance Smart Chains coming up. And I have a question for Kun A, maybe since you have experience on it, what would be the app that you recommend for someone who wants to try decentralized finance? Maybe Aave, Argent. Can you maybe give your experience? What app do you use, and what do you recommend?
You mean like the dApps, right?
Yes, the dApps. Yeah.
Well, if you really want to yield farm, right? Aave is good, but it's not really yield farming with Aave. It's more about lending, right? I mean, if you really want yield farming on Ethereum right now, you can try maybe Curve. Curve is pretty good start as well. Something that safe for a while. I mean, nothing happened to it yet. And there's a lot of pools for you to choose, especially the stablecoin pools. There's so many of them. You can start to learn, like, you know, like why this pool actually have more APY, and also, you know, like you might not, you know, see, you get a mix of, you know, the trading fees, get some of the Curve token. I think through that process, you actually, you know, like learn how you know you actually, you know, come from and, you know, come across. That would be a good start, in my opinion, for yield farming. And if you want to go more advanced, you can, you know, well, for Ethereum, I can't recommend anything because the gas fee is really high. So if you go to Binance Smart Chain and buy something really easy and simple, it's a Pancake Swap, which is, you know, they fork Uniswap, so it's pretty safe. You can try to, you know, like add your maybe stablecoin pool as well, maybe USD and USDT, put it in there, you know, and use the LP token, which is like a token representing your pool that you're providing. Then go and stake, and through that you actually learn, you know, like what's happening with like the mechanism of, you know, how you actually declare that you own the pool, and also how you actually, you know, put the pool into the staking mechanism to earn extra tokens, right?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And actually, people can follow you on Facebook at Coinman. For a lot of information related to DeFi.
We'll be entitled.
But the point, we want to do this meetup in English because there is a lot of Thai meetups. And
that's true. Yeah, there's already many of that.
All right. And Guillaume, maybe a last point for the end.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the question and trying to make sure we answer to everyone. One of the things we should mention to Marco is that also you have Clean Finance, and they recently released Iron Bank, which is super cool. It's zero collateral lending. It's not yet open to people. It's protocol to protocol, but zero collateral lending is basically the mortgage for your villa in Thailand, right? Because your villa can't be on chain yet. So yeah, check it out. There was a question from Kunkanyarat on what are the other coins, and what can be competitive. I guess other, as in not Ethereum, right? So Kunkanyarat, I would say be careful, do some research, try to ask your friends, read the white paper if you have the time before you invest in other projects. And a number of them were mentioned, and I think, like Felix mentioned, governance tokens sometimes have some value, so maybe look into those, like YFI. And then there was some Mathieu sharing to the community that is working on a game. You can go and check out cometh.io, cometh.io. It's an NFT-based game. Check it out. And soon Ave Gochi, which I wonder what it is, like Tamagotchi for yield farming. I don't know, like you fill your yield farm. And I think that's all the question we had. If there is more, please reach out, guys. And please, if you have any question, if you want to share more, there is the community, the meetup group, Blockchain Bangkok. Post your question in there. We'll be happy to respond and also, drive the next discussion for next month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, in the chat, I posted a YouTube channel called Finematics, which the guy is extremely good at explaining the complex DeFi protocols, and really use it even for people who are familiar with the space. I highly recommend this channel. And I think that would be it for tonight. A lot of information to process. This meetup is every month, different topics, always related on blockchain, not only on DeFi. We do it physically in ASOC, in the company co-working space. Now with the COVID situation, we will be able to resume it next month. We offer free beer and free pizza. So that's a good incentive to come and talk about blockchain, and especially actually to meet people. You will see developers, people from the DeFi space, people from those very new and exciting startups in Thailand. So I really recommend you guys to come and meet us and ask your questions. This is for the community that we do that, and we welcome everybody. So I would like to really thank Kun-A for participating tonight. Felix, always good to have you, and always nice to hear your side of the story. And thanks a lot, Guillaume, for your time. I know you're busy those days. So I really appreciate everybody. Thank you for asking the questions, and follow up on the meetups or on our Facebook Atato. You will see all the events that we organize, and we post a lot of articles and informations about the space. So check it out, and we'll be happy to reply to all your questions. So again, thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate your times, and I hope to see you all next month.
Thanks,
all right.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Right. Thank you, Felix. Bye-bye.
And there's so many messages on the chat. Yeah, if Nicolas is still in there, I don't know, Nicolas, are you still there? There was a question about the news of Tether. Nicolas is asking, is it good news for DeFi? So I think